The Broken Heart by William Barnes, 1801 to 1886. News of grief had overtaken dark-eyed Fanny, now vorseaken. There she zot with breast a even, while from side to side with grieving, Vell her head with tears a-creepen down her cheeks in bitter weeping. There was still the ribbon bow she tied avore her hour of woe, and there was still the hands that tied it, hanging white or wringing tight, in care that drowned all care bezide it. When a man with heartless slighten mid becomes a maiden blighten, he mid cearelessly vorseake her, he must answer to her Meaker. He must slight with selfish blindness all her deeds of loven-kindness. God will weigh 'em with the slighten that mid be her love's requiten. He do look on each deceiver, he do know what weight of woe do break the heart of every griever. Wow. Okay, this poem is by William Barnes. William Barnes came from Dorset in England, and this poem is written in the Dorset dialect. Yeah, that wasn't easy for me to read. Okay, let's see. William Barnes, he finished his education about the age of 15. But he continued to study all sorts of things, and he was a mathematician, a writer, a poet. He spoke many different languages. He was an artist and an inventor, and he also became a priest. At the age of about 40 something, he went to St John's College, Cambridge, and got a degree. Let's see. He wrote a huge number of poems, but he was particularly fond of writing things in this Dorset dialect, which is not easy to understand. Well, if you can read it and listen to how it sounds, it will be much easier. He knew Thomas Hardy. He had other literary friends like Lord Tennyson, Gerard Manley Hopkins. And another thing that's interesting is he was a teetotaler. He didn't drink, and a vegetarian back in this day and age. So what's the poem about? Well, the poem is about a woman called Fanny, Frances, who's had her heart broken. It describes how she reacted to having her heart broken. And finally, the poem says that God will, or the person who has broken her heart, will be judged in heaven. So, news of grief had overtaken dark-eyed Fanny, now forsaken. So she was Fanny with dark eyes was overtaken with grief at the news because she had been forsaken. Her boyfriend or her beau had dumped her effectively. Yeah, so he'd rejected her, and she was taken with grief. There she sat with breast a heaving, while from side to side with grieving fell her head with tears creeping down her cheeks in bitter weeping. So she sat there, and her breast was heaving up and down, and her head was moving from side to side, while um, while she was grieving, while she was sad about this, and there were tears creeping down her cheeks. There was still the ribbon bow that she tied before her hour of woe. So she's got a ribbon, I guess it's probably in her hair, and she's still wearing this ribbon, which obviously she's put on to look nice for her boyfriend. And she tied this on before she discovered that he had forsaken her. Yeah, so, and there were still the hands that tied it, hanging white or wringing tight. So the hands, now he's talking about the hands that tied that bow, they're hanging down and they're white or wringing tight. She's wringing her hands. Yeah, in care that drowned all care beside it. So she was so upset that this put aside all her other cares, all the other things that she worried about. When a man with heartless slighting, so I think this is slight, made become a maiden's blighting. So a man who was completely heartless made this maiden's life become blighted, become poisoned, become destroyed. So I'm not entirely sure about this word mid. I think it's either made or may or should. So I think here he may carelessly forsake her. So he may carelessly throw her aside, but must answer to her Maker. So he must answer to God for what he has done to her. He mid slight with selfish blindness. So he may slight her, he may insult her with egotistical blindness. Yeah, he loses sight of all her deeds of loving kindness, all of the good and loving things that she has done for him. He's just completely lost sight of them. And God will weigh them with the slighting, with the insults that may be her love's requiting. So God will weigh all of the good things she has done against this man who has slighted her. Yeah, and that her love should have been properly requited, responded to by this man. He is God. He do look on each deceiver. So God looks at each person who tricks somebody. He knows what weight, what problems, or what sadness, woe, are breaking the heart of every griever, of every person who is upset. Okay, so this one's not easy. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. The broken heart, or maybe the broken heart.